let's get to the game that I just mentioned. And I will tell you, this is one that there are no like super major injuries, but this is one I always try to be honest with you guys and girls that listen to this show. I always try to tell you the truth. I have no idea what to make of Utah at UCLA, a top 20 matchup at the Rose Bowl, about 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. Utah is a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 65.5. This is going to be a really fun one. First of all, I don't think people realize these are two really good teams, right? And don't give me the SEC this and the Big Ten that and Utah. Yes, I know they lost at Florida. I think if they play Florida a week later, they win convincingly because I just don't think they had any tape on Anthony Richardson and he gashed them. And in the second half, they outplayed Florida. So that's one, but two really good teams. UCLA is interesting because they haven't really played anybody of note up until this past Friday when they hosted Washington at the Rose Bowl, but they steamroll three group of five teams, two group of fives and one FCS team. They beat a really bad Colorado team that fires their coach. And I think everybody was kind of questioning them coming into the game last week against Washington, and they were completely dominant in that game. They were up 40-16 going into the fourth quarter. I know the final score would make you feel like it was a lot closer than it was. No, UCLA ran Washington until Washington rallied late. What's interesting about this game, again, I think two really good teams, UCLA 5-0, Utah 4-1. And Utah, I do think it's worth noting as well, just absolutely crushing teams since they lost to Florida in week one. Utah, since that Florida loss, here are the scores of their games. 73-7 to Southern Utah, 35-7 to San Diego State, 34-13 to Arizona State, 42-16 against Oregon State. So they're playing really well. They've outscored their opponents 184-43 since that opening loss. And I just think it's going to be a really good one. Now, in terms of the matchup itself, here's why I get tripped up. Here's why I can't tell you how I think this one is going to go down. Because I think we all kind of know who Utah is, run the ball defense, which we'll talk about in a minute. I don't think people realize UCLA is a crazy explosive offense, and they're also way better on defense this year. Now, you can argue that UCLA hasn't played anybody of note outside of Washington, but first off, one of the most complete offenses in college football. And I think what stands out to me, you have teams that are really effective passing the ball like Tennessee. You have teams that are really effective running the ball. UCLA does it on both sides. They're in the top 25 nationally in rush offense and pass offense, very balanced, and I think that makes them tough to game plan for. But here's the other thing I don't think people realize. UCLA is actually really good defensively this year. They rank in the top 10 in rush defense, which is why I can't. If Utah does it really well running the ball, this is why I'm concerned about UCLA, because UCLA has a top 10 rush defense. UCLA is giving up 2.5 yards per carry. UCLA's only given up a couple rushing touchdowns in 5 games this season. And so UCLA, top 10 rush defense, they're number 1 in tackles for loss. This defense gives people problems I don't think people realize. Now the question becomes, can we do exactly what I just said? Can Utah give UCLA problems? I don't know if Utah can just run the ball right at them. Utah, they are who we thought they were. Top 15 in rush defense, and what they do better than a rush offense, I should say. And what they do better than anybody, they run the ball right at you, but they control clock along with it. Top 20 nationally in time of possession. And then this is my new favorite stat that I just discovered on teamrankings.com. I talked about it last week with Kentucky. I'll talk about it again this week with Utah. Utah is in the bottom 20 nationally in terms of time per play. Okay. So think about Ole Miss. They run a play, sprint to the line of scrimmage, want to score, want to run another play. Utah's the exact opposite. Run a play, walk back, go to the huddle, talk it out. What do you think? What should we run? Let's get back. And so I only bring it up because if Utah can sustain drives, then that makes it very tough on a UCLA offense to get into a rhythm, because Utah's just going to chew up the clock and walk out of the Rose Bowl with probably a 24-21 victory. But if they can't, if UCLA can get a couple stops, if UCLA can make a couple plays in the backfield and make Cam Rising make plays with his arm, then I think UCLA has a big advantage. So this is one, again, UCLA is a 3.5-point home underdog. Utah, a 3.5-point favorite on the road in the Betfred Sportsbook. Just a total stay away to me. If you have a great feel, congratulations to you. I am not touching this one with a 10-foot pole.